everybody. Welcome to Tea Time. I'm so glad you're joining me tonight. It is January 18th. There's a lot going on right now. It's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and we're celebrating 99 years of Betty White. God bless. James Earl Jones is 90 years old. God bless. My weekend was kind of quiet. As some of you know, I went to go get tested for COVID and the test came back negative. But I was having symptoms and I went back a week later and I tested positive. So I do have COVID. I am in quarantine. I want to thank my bestie, Adam Shapiro, for bringing me homemade chicken soup last night. It was delicious. And I'm okay. Thank God I'm home and I'm not in a hospital. And I'm just glad that you're able to join me tonight because I have a very special guest with me and we're going to get to her right now. She's a comedian. She's a writer. She's a director. She's a producer. Carol Montgomery's in the house. Hello, Carol. Thank you for joining me tonight.
Thank you. And I'm glad that we're doing this virtually because I don't want you coughing on me.
Yes, this is the safest way to do
the safest way to do stuff nowadays.
It is. So listen, Carol, I want everyone to get to know you. You're originally from Brooklyn, right? You're
yes,
a Brooklyn
I am.
Girl. Where did you grow up in Brooklyn?
I grew up in Sheepshead Bay, Ocean Avenue, between Avenue S, R and S. So I'm a Brooklyn girl.
Yeah.
Went to high school, Lafayette High School, went to Brooklyn College for about 6 months, and then I said to my dad, I don't want to do this. I knew I wanted to be in some kind of in some kind of show business.
Yeah.
So I did theater for a while, and from there is when I ended up doing stand up. But yeah, so I'm Brooklyn, and when I say Brooklyn to the audience, I mean real Brooklyn, not this bullshit, organic vegan crap that is in
authentic.
Yes, I can say bullshit, right? Was it okay that I said bullshit? Okay, good.
What I want to know is when you originally went to Brooklyn College before you told your dad you didn't want to do this anymore. What were you studying at the time?
I was just doing like liberal arts, like whatever you're supposed to. When you that first year, you have to take certain classes just to take them. Right. So I remember that I was taking English and math and all this other stuff, and I ended up taking. It must have been a theater class, and this is why I think I left college is because when we went to the class, it was an acting class, and the professor said, "So how many of you want to do this for a living?" I was the only one that raised my hand, and everyone else was taking it for the credit. And I thought, I don't need to be in college. I want to learn. I want to learn about life, and that's what I did. That's all of my experience is just hands-on. Being right in the middle of everything.
Right. Well, my dad always said that it's better to be street smart, and you go to college, he said, to become stupid.
Right.
It's true. Only the common sense.
Right. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, like I know people that actually did go to college to study acting. It's like, that's not going to, when you go to an audition, they don't look at your resume and go, oh, look, you have a BA in theater. They're going to say, get up there and act.
Right.
So, and the first year after I left college, I was doing mostly, like lighting and stage managing, and I went away to do summer stock, and I did props, and I really learned all about the behind the scenes stuff. And then I didn't start really. And then how old was I? I was probably 21. 1979 is when I started. So started doing stand up. So I've been doing stand up a long time, and you've had an amazing journey, amazing career. And I want to know how did you go from like behind the scenes to actually getting up on stage and telling jokes? How did that happen? And where was the first time you took the stage? Okay, so when I went to do summer stock, when I was it was the summer of 1979. I went to do summer stock to be a techie. Basically, so I was one of the kids that just, and in summer stock, at least back then, they had like, let's say 8 weeks of shows. So Monday through Sunday was one show, and then Sunday night was what they would call turnaround, because you had to get ready. You'd break everything down and build the next set for Monday.
Right.
So I was with a group of guys. Some were the lighting people, some were the sound people, some were the builders, and we were the techies. And I was a wise ass, and everyone used to say to me, all my friends would say, you're such a wise ass. Why don't you become a comedian? Now remember, this is how long ago it was. Nobody knew what a comedian was. It wasn't like stand-up comedy is like now.
Right.
I mean, I was like, what do you mean? Like do a monologue like Johnny Carson? Like I couldn't fathom what stand-up comedy was.
Yeah.
So in July, we decided to have we said we decided to do a Christmas party in July. And one of my friends said to me, let's write you some jokes and you'll perform at the party. And so it was probably a dozen people, and we were all really drunk because, it's summer stuff. And I did that was my first time. I don't remember my act. But what's interesting about this is that we've been, I'm sure because everyone's in quarantine. So, the first round of quarantine, my husband and I cleaned out. We were like, all right, we're going to clean everything out of the apartment. We're going to throw shit out and everything. Purge. So the second round of purging, I actually found an old notebook of mine and the 2 pages, which I have somewhere because I know I didn't throw them out. I actually have the first 2 pages that I ever did. And I was reading them and I was like, oh my God, these are so bad. It was so bad. But when you're young, you want to do stuff, you have that focus. So,
yes, young and fearless. And the other thing is that, I started comedy in the early 90s.
Right.
Before I had my daughter.
Right.
I was Manzo back then, Teresa Manzo back then. And I did it for a few years and it was great. And it was a male-dominated industry back then.
Yes,
and it was really hard, and it still is, and a lot of people don't address the elephant in the room, but it's very hard for women to make their mark, so to speak, to get the stage time. It's a lot easier for men. It's just the way it's always been.
Right.
I did it for a few years and then I stopped. I had my daughter and then I returned back into comedy about 5-6 years ago with the help of Bob Nelson, because I always thank Bob for
Bob's a good guy.
Getting me into improv with him and getting back on the stage. But yeah, it was rough back then. So how did you push through that?
Well, people who are watching that know me know that I don't suffer fools very lightly, and I don't take no for an answer. You have to understand, I was 21 when I started, and I knew I wanted to do this. I mean, like when I talk about my past, there's nothing I've ever wanted to do more than just be a comedian. And I started at Pips in Sheepshead Bay, which was a real, real Guido, like, excuse me, I used to say that whenever I go on stage at Pips, all the guys would want me to get off stage and make sauce. Do you know what I mean? They were like,
just when the first time I did Pips, they said to me, if you can do Pips and make the people there laugh,
right? Oh yeah,
you can do any club. And I have to say, thank God I had a good set, because I have a big mouth. I'm Italian,
right?
And I'm relatable, so they liked me.
Right, exactly. So I was always very determined to, this is all I've ever wanted. This is all I've ever done. I mean, literally, like I said, got out of college, found this path, started working at Pips. I was a waitress, and, went around doing all the city clubs, Catch a Rising Star and the comic strip and the improv. I was very lucky early in my career. There was a club in New York City called Who's on First, which was, it's so funny because I said my next solo show is going to be called I'm Always in a Fucking Basement. Because, that's where all the comedy clubs are, because everyone always has a basement. So there was this, it was like a tiny restaurant on First Avenue. And it's now a Dunkin' Donuts. It was like 3 blocks uptown from Dangerfields. Mm-hmm. And, it served burgers and, regular American fare. But downstairs, they had a basement that was smaller than my room, the room I'm in right now. Smaller than it tops 20 people. Right. And the gentleman that was running it was a gentleman named Peter Spellos, who is my mentor. And he just said to me, because I was having a tough time getting to be a regular. I was a regular at Catch a Rising Star, but there was so much bullshit you had to deal with,
politics.
There was a lot of politics. And I'll talk about that in a second because it's different than it is now.
Yes.
And so, and I would complain. I said, I need to be on stage and I can't. And, there were no open mics back then. There were no bar shows back then. He said, Carol, you come every weekend. I will put you on. And he did. And he saved me, because from that, there was a group of people that I end up becoming really good friends with. And we helped each other out and we worked. And that's the important thing. Now, back in the day, at Catch a Rising Star, I don't know I think it was the same way at the other clubs too. There were no lineups. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There was no, like, you didn't call in and go, hey, I'm available. You walked in, you sat
Right.
at the bar, you got your soda or your drink,
Yep.
and then the MC would literally walk in and go, you want to go on? Okay. I mean, not to me because I was a new comic, but
Right.
there'd be people like Bill Maher and Paul Reiser and Jerry Seinfeld who were nobody. They were just the next level up. I always liken comedy to high school. So they were all like seniors when I was a freshman.
Right.
And that's how it was done. So you
Yeah.
only had there was only 2 spots at Catch a Rising Star. There was the opening spot, and then there was the late night spot. And those were the only 2 spots. So that Peter gave me literally and they used to do like 2 shows a night on Friday and Saturday. So I worked every weekend and was able to hone my craft.
Yeah. That's huge. It's huge to find a home stage, so to speak.
Oh, absolutely.
I grew up in Queens, and back then we had Jimmy's Comedy Alley.
Oh, I remember Jimmy's. Of course,
And
I remember Jimmy's.
I was there a lot because I grew up in Bayside, so I was there a lot.
Did Messina book that? Did Rick Messina book that? Or that? No, Rick Messina booked the Rainy Night House. That was another one.
Oh God, I remember that place too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That brings back memories. Holy cannoli! Wow. So because I was in Queens, either I'd be on the island or I'd go into the city, and I would, you just go all over because you just want stage time. That's the bottom line.
Exactly.
You're looking for places to give you stage time and hone your craft and get up there and look. There's nothing like a live audience. That's the bottom line. Right now we're all in freaking COVID land and lockdown and Zoom town, and and there's nothing like a live audience and that automatic feedback that you get. God, when you deliver something and they just love it and they're laughing and you're like, it's like it's like the best. It's the best feeling in the world.
Yeah.
You had a lot of things going on before COVID stopped, but before
yes, I did.
You had a lot going on, a lot on your plate, and you've done a lot. But I want to briefly go back in time a little bit because you've done a lot. I also back in the day had auditioned for Nick at Night's Funniest Mom in America.
Funniest Mom, yes.
And I had auditioned for that. I remember that years ago. I did that. But you were on Comedy Central. You were on A&E, VH1, MTV, Lifetime, ABC, the Travel Channel, Discovery Channel. You were on TV Guide Work, Showtime, because we're going to talk about your big Showtime Funny Women of a Certain Age that you've done. But you've performed and you've done these things with Oprah and Bill Maher, and was there ever a time when you had to pinch yourself and you go, holy crap, I'm sitting next to freaking Robert Conrad and I'm being freaking funny, making everyone laugh on Bill's show?
Well, but well, first of all, Bill and I go back a billion years. Okay. The way I got on the show is actually a great story because when I was working in Vegas, I was in Vegas for 10 years. Yes. And I was in a couple of shows out there. And before Steve Sharippa was a big star on Blue Bloods, he was the entertainment director of the Riviera. Yes. Steve Sharippa is also one of, I have certain men in my life, like I said, Peter Spell. And Steve Sharippa was always my guardian angel. Do you know what I mean? He was the first person. He was the first person to headline me at the Riviera Comedy Club because Bud Friedman wouldn't headline me when it was an improv. So as soon as the Riviera took it over, he called my manager and said, I want Carolyn to headline. So that's the type of man.
Wow.
Steve Sharippa is. So now I lost my train of thought because I'm old.
Crazy Girls at the Riviera.
Right. But there was a reason I was telling you about that. And what the hell was it?
That he's your angel. And
but what was the question
Bill Maher.
Right, Bill Maher. Oh yeah, there you go. See?
I love Bill.
Welcome to being 63. So anyway. So I was working in Crazy Girls, and one of the girls had said, "Oh, Bill Maher's here." Bill Maher's not in the audience, but he was in the hotel. And I know a lot of people. I've been doing stand-up for over 40 years. I've seen a lot of famous, I've known them as comics. They become famous. And I'm the type of person that when someone becomes famous, unless I'm really close with them, I don't I step away because I know that everybody is hawking them for work and hawking them and, hey, remember we were friends and all that. So I was like, I knew that Bill was in the hotel and he was having drinks at the bar. And so the way the Riviera was is that Crazy Girls was up. You had to take an escalator up to the showroom. So I'm coming, and I was like, I'm not going to bother him. I'm just going to go home, you know. And I went down the escalator, and from the bar, I hear this from Bill Maher: Montgomery, come here. And I went to the bar, and he goes, "What do you, you know?" And it was hysterical because he was one of the only comics I liked to banter with. Like we would always like, you know how comics when we get together we try to banter and everything. And I used to hate that everyone would try to be on, but with Bill we used to just. And he said, "How come you haven't done my show?" I said, "Because nobody asked me to do it." He goes, "Carl Scott, who also was a friend of mine, the executive producer of Politically Incorrect and also now in Real Time." He says, "Carl Scott, let's set something up." So that's how I ended up on the show. So I was ready because I had been waiting to do that show. That was one of the few shows I really, really wanted to do. And right. and what's funniest is that, you know, I know that at that point he was a big star, but like at the end of the show, my son was so excited. It was the first TV show he'd ever been to. I think he was 8 or 9 years old, and he was in the green room with Peter Spellos, by the way, because he lived in LA and he was also friends with the executive producer because we did in LA. My son, when my name came on the TV, you know, the TV screen back, yes. My son literally jumped in the air. My husband said he was so thrilled. Oh. So after the show, you know, getting ready, we're leaving, and Bill comes out and everything. I introduced him to my son, and he hates kids. He hates children. And he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "Let's take a picture." And he's like, and he was like rolling his eyes and trying to get out of it. And I literally went, "Bill, get your ass over here and take a fucking picture with me and my son." And was like, "Oh, okay." And it was, and I have the photo, and it's a great shot. But you know what I mean? Like, so I know too many people who are famous and how people treat them. And the thing with Robert Conrad was great because he was such a pig. Not a pig, I know. But he was such a pig. But that's one of my favorite. If you see the clip, you can Google it. Yeah. But at one point, he tries to make a sexist joke where he's going to come on to me, and I went, "Sit your ass down!" And I scared the shit out of him. And this is fucking Robert Conrad. It was the funniest thing. That was one of my favorite moments on TV.
You put him in his place, and I laughed my ass off. All right, listen, Carol, don't go away. I want to thank everyone for watching the show. Please like it and share it. We're going to take a really quick break. More when we come back with Carol Montgomery. Don't go away.
Fortunato's Pizza and Restaurant is located at 719 Hawkins Avenue in Ronkonkoma. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram. They do free deliveries to Ronkonkoma, Lake Ronkonkoma, Lake Grove, Center Reach, Nesconset, Holbrook, and Selden. And they do catering for all occasions. Remember, mention Tea Time and get 10% off your entire order. So, Fortunato's Pizza. Move your pizza to Fortunato's Pizza.
So where do you want to go tonight?
Are you bored?
Oh my God.
Hold on tight. We're going to Coasters.
Coasters Tavern is located at 487 New Bridge Road in East Meadow. Their number's 516-557-2222.
Well, hi there, Teresa. It's John York from General Hospital. I am just checking in because apparently you have a great talk show called Tea Time on Strong Island TV. I want you to have continued great success and have a lot of fun. It sounds like you're having a lot of fun. And that's pretty much the key to everything, isn't it? So continued success. I'm proud of you. Have a great day, Teresa. Bye.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Tea Time. I'm so glad you're joining me tonight. It's Monday night. And I want to thank Fortunato's Pizzeria and Restaurant. They're out in Ronkonkoma. They deliver to 5 Yeah, okay.
Neighborhoods?
5 neighborhoods, thank you, in the surrounding area. Give them a call. Their food is amazing. You mentioned Tea Time, you get 10% off your order. And I love their slogan, Moving Your Pizza to Fortunato's a Pizza. And I want to thank John York from General Hospital for your kind words about my show. I did have Carolyn Hennessy from General Hospital on. She plays Diane Miller, and I'm hoping maybe to get some more General Hospital castmates on. I don't know. We'll see what 2021 brings. And I want to thank, again, Coasters, because Coasters has been with me from the very, very beginning. I'm talking to Carol Montgomery, and she's a comedian, a writer, director, producer. She's had amazing, amazing long career and has so much more that she's doing. And
I'm exhausted just listening to everything you're saying I did.
You know, we talked about how you started in stand-up, and then we talked about how you had this residency in Vegas, and you were doing Crazy Girls at the Riviera, and then you were doing Midnight Fantasy at the Luxor, and you were in Vegas, what, over 10 years?
Over 10 years. That's if you excuse me, if you ask my son where he grew up, he will say Vegas is his hometown.
Oh, really?
Because we moved there when he was 4, and we moved away when he was 14. So
Okay.
we were there a very long time. And the great story about how I got the Crazy Girls gig, once again, Mr. Steve Sharipper, my guardian angel.
Right.
He was the entertainer. I was literally I was working at the comedy club. You know, as you know, and so you have to understand back then in Vegas, the comedy club had 2 shows a night. I think Crazy Girls had 2 shows a night and 3 shows on Saturday. So I'm doing this. So I have to set up the scenario because at this point I'd been touring a lot. I'd been on the road all the time. I was a national headliner. I was doing, which, by the way, we should talk about that too. But anyway, so I was doing
Yes, I
all
want
this
to
stuff.
talk about that. You performed in front of millions and millions of people.
Right. So I was, every time I would leave to go anywhere, I would always go back east because we lived in LA. So my kid would sob. Because I would wake him up and hug him, and he'd be crying, "Don't leave me," and it was killing me. So I get to the Riviera. It was sometime in the summertime, and back then when I would be on the road, I would take things with me. Like I would take my son's picture. I tried to, because I knew I was going to be there for a week. Because
Right.
if there's any comedians watching, back then that's what happened. You went away for a week. You didn't do this Friday and Saturday bullshit. You were gone Monday through Sunday.
Right.
So I'm literally in my bathroom. I love telling the story because it's all about how you think about, what your life is, right? So I'm putting away everything, and I was missing my kid and everything. I remember I'm literally putting my makeup on away, and I'm like, Mother, I just wish I could have a gig where I could stay home, like do the gig and come home to my kid.
Right.
And the next day, I get a call from Steve, and he goes, the comedian who was the comedian in Crazy Girls had gotten ill. She was very ill, and they said they need a replacement. So can you fill in for her? So I did, I think, 27 shows that week, because I would do the first show at the comedy club, do Crazy Girls, go back, do the second show at the comedy, then go back and do Crazy Girls. I was doing 4 shows a night, and and then on Saturday, I don't even remember. And at the end of the week, they said to me, she's going to be away. She's going to be in not rehab, but she had to get better. He goes, the producer said to me, I'd like you to stay for the summer. So I said, the only way I'm staying in the summer is you're putting me up. My son is coming to me. So we spent the whole summer at the Riviera in a hotel.
Wow.
And then at the end of that summer, they offered me a contract. And that's how I ended up in Vegas for 10 years. And what happened is when I was done with Crazy Girls, we were going to go back to New York at this point, because I wanted my son to go to school back in New York. And he was, because I always remember, I'm sure you remember this too, when comics would talk about how shitty their childhood because their parents made them move all the time. There's always a comic, you remember that. And I didn't want to do that to my kid. Right. So I think he was getting ready to go into junior high, and we were planning on going back to New York. Okay?
Yeah.
And then out of the blue, I was out of work for a year because there was no road work. At that point, the road started to die.
Right.
And so And just as we were about to settle to go there, I got a call to do Midnight Fantasy, and they said the other comic is leaving. You were recommended, and I ended up there for 3 years. So then he went all through junior high because I said to my husband, I said, if we stay, we're staying through junior high. I'm not going to do that to him.
Right.
And that's basically how I got Midnight Fantasy, because it was back then. It was a very closed community. If there were 5 comedians, that was a lot.
Right.
Now, because it's so cheap to live in Vegas, and at the time before COVID, there was more work out there. So a lot of comics moved out there. So It's not the same thing as it was then. But that's how I ended up in Vegas for 10 years, basically, because of him.
And then you moved back to New York, and he went to high school here, right?
Right. He went to professional children's school because he's an actor and he's also a musician. So, so he ended up over there, and and he didn't want to go. He wanted to stay in New York, in Vegas, because all of his friends were in Vegas.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So, but I said to him, I said, I have to do this it's time. I wasn't gonna. I probably look, if I had probably stayed there another 6 months or a year, I probably would have gotten another job in another show. But sure. I had done that. I'd done that for 10 years. And even though it's a great paycheck and you've got that comfort, you're only doing 10 minutes. You're not really being a comic. You're the person there while the girls go change their clothes.
Right.
So that's why, it ended up being better that we moved back.
Right. And then when you moved back, what did you do? I mean, what did you do when you moved back?
I just like everybody else, I tried to, I mean, the road was gone. I mean, I'm talking about, I was on the road probably 3 weeks every month. It was gone. It was gone. And if it wasn't gone, I wasn't considered a headliner anymore, which was like, wait a minute. What do you mean I'm not a national headliner anymore? Literally, what are you talking about? And it was like, that was weird because I literally had played most of the states and most of the major clubs. So I started to. That's when I started branching out into. I did my solo show, which I had done in Vegas, and then I did it here. And then I really liked directing, so I started to branch out into directing. But there was a club in New York City called Ha, which is no longer around.
Yes.
But they were that club. And everyone hated the club, and it was a horrible club. But you know what? It gave stage time to comics because they did shows from 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 1 on the weekends. They would do shows. So there were like 10 shows, every night. So I would work there, and I was trying to get back on my feet and everything, and just little by little, Did
you feel at that point you kind of had to reinvent yourself?
Yeah, kind of, because nobody knew me. I was what was funny is I did a show. I came back to do a show before we moved back, and it was a bunch of New York comics, and I was considered an LA comic, and I'm like, I'm from Brooklyn, you assholes. How are you calling me just because I live there? So right. It really did take a while because now I'm back 16 years. So I moved back here So Lane was 14, which I was in my late 40s, early 50s when I got back here. But I think I did stand up in Stilettos during that time, and that was the show on the TV Guide Network. And I mean, I kept trying to work, and you make a living, by hook or by crook.
Yeah. It's a never ending hustle.
Oh, absolutely. Even and I say this to people, because, and I know we'll talk about the specials and everything, but even that, you reach a certain level of success, but you have to stay there. So now it's even more work.
I was just saying this to somebody today, because as fast as you make it up, that's as fast as you can come down.
Right.
You want to build, and you want to stay there.
Right.
while. Absolutely. I was just mentioning this today to somebody. It's so funny. Listen, I'm gonna thank everyone for watching and tuning in. Please like the show. Please share it. I'm with Carol Montgomery. She's an amazing, funny, talented woman who's done so much. But we're gonna take one more quick break. When we come back, we're gonna talk more with Carol. So don't go away, everybody. We'll be right back.
We'll see you in a bit.
So where do you want to go tonight?
Why don't we go to Coasters?
Oh, cool. I heard it's a great place. Let's check it out.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Oh my God.
Coasters Tavern is located at 487 New Bridge Road in East Meadow. Their number's 516-557-2222. Fortunato's Pizza and Restaurant is located at 719 Hawkins Avenue in Ronkonkoma. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram. They do free deliveries to Ronkonkoma, Lake Ronkonkoma, Lake Grove, Center Reach, Nesconsin, Holbrook, and Selden. And they do catering for all occasions. Remember, mention Tea Time and get 10% off your entire order. So, Fortunato's Pizza. Move you pizza to Fortunato's a Pizza.
How you doing? It's Sal the Voice Valentinetti. Why are you watching me? You should be watching Teresa Canastraci Tea Time with Teresa Canastraci Farrell. And make sure you follow Teresa on Facebook. Tea Time with Teresa Canastraci Farrell. We'll see you there.
I love the way you say my name. I love it.
You're on.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Tea Time. I'm so glad you're joining me tonight. I want to thank my sponsor, Fortunato's Pizzeria and Restaurant in Ronkonkoma. I want you to try their food. It's amazing. Everything they make is just delicious and homemade and fresh ingredients. And if you mention Tea Time, you get 10% off your order. So remember, move your pizza to Fortunato's a Pizza. And I want to thank Sal the Voice Valentinetti for plugging Tea Time. Sal's in Florida, and he's having a great time down there. And I want to thank him for just being a friend and being part of the Bat Boy family. And that's it. I want to thank everyone for watching the show. Please like it. Please share it. I'm with Carol Montgomery. She's a comedian, a writer, director, producer. She's been in this game for a very long time, and she's not. She's in for the long haul of this. You know what I'm saying? This isn't just a quick race to the finish line. This is a never-ending race. We're all in, and I want to talk about how you directed. You directed some shows. One was called Another Door Opens. Can you tell me about that?
That was my friend Laurie Summer, who's a great comedian. She's from Long Island. It was about, because she was a former backup dancer, and it's all about the trials and tribulations of doing that. And she had an injury, and she had to figure out what the next step was.
Right.
So, and that's why Another Door Opens. You know, I'm a big believer in that. You know, because I know you wanted to talk about me directing.
Yes.
You know, when you get to a certain age in this business, as a woman especially, and it's also men. Ageism is goes after all of us.
Yes.
But when I hit around 50, I started to see the writing on the wall, and I was like, "This is gonna be tougher." You know, there's not enough comedy clubs anymore. There are more women coming up who are younger and cuter, and not that and that's nothing wrong with that, because I did the same thing. So I started going into, I wanted to start directing, because I had done my own solo show, and I knew that. And the one show that I'm really proud about is that I did Jim Florentine's show, I'm Your Savior.
Yes.
Which is now on Amazon Prime. Yes. And the way that happened actually is actually a great story. Is the guys who own The Stand, the Italia brothers, Chris, I told him I was thinking about doing this, and he said, "Well, why don't you come see Florentine's solo show?" And he went to see the show, and it was good. but afterwards, and I didn't really know Jim. I mean, we knew of each other because everyone knows everybody. And so I said to him,
Yeah,
I said,
yeah.
he said, what do you think of the show? I said, oh, it's good. It needs work. And the look on his face was like, who the fuck are you? I mean, like, it was the greatest look. He was so, and like, because he had just met me, he knew who I was. And,
Right.
and he went, oh, okay. And that was it. Right. So 6 months go by. So we're at Uncle Vinny's down in by the Jersey Shore, and I'm headlining the show. And Jim comes in to do a guest spot, and I'm in the office, and I'm just sitting there. And he goes, "Hey, how you doing? How you doing?" And I'm like, literally, he goes, "So what would you change?" 6 months later, as if we were still having the conversation. And I told him what I thought, and I told him, I said, I'll give you one thing for free, and I told him what I thought about the show. And then we started working together, and I was really proud of him. It's such a great show. It brought out a side of him that that most people don't know. And then they taped it while we had done it at, I forgot the name of the theater. So it was right next to where the old Improv used to be on West 44th Street and 9th Avenue, and they filmed it, and then they put it up on Amazon. And I have to say, you know, he's a mensch, because he didn't have to. You know, people were calling me. They said, you know, Jim put the show on, and it says directed by Carol Montgomery. I said, well, yeah, I directed it, but you know, you expect people not to do the right thing, and he did the right thing.
Right.
And I've done a lot. Jim Andrinos, I've done his solo show. I've done
The
Joey,
Lighter Side of Death. You
The
did
Lighter Side.
Find Funny and Female.
Fine, Funny, and Female, which was basically, when I think about it now, was a precursor to Women of a Certain Age.
Yes.
Because one of the things that I had always felt also is that you could have beautiful women, and they could also be funny. So it was a sketch show. With the women were knockouts, but they were out of their fucking minds. So that lasted about a minute and a half, because I could not deal with. But yeah. So then we did that, and then I did Joey Novick's show, and then I've done a bunch of other people's shows. You know, it's a part of me, and I'm actually working on. There's a young woman named Caitlin Bailey, and I'm working on her solo show right now. But she's, you know, once COVID, you know, like you said, everything was going to be happening, and then COVID hit.
Yep.
So we were working on her show, and then she split to go down south, to, you know, because it wasn't safe. You know, a lot of people, we forget that, because we've been in this for so long. But that first month, people were leaving New York in fucking droves. I mean, it was just so yeah. So and it's a different muscle when you work on a solo show with somebody. And one of the things that's very hard for comedians, because a lot of comics go, oh, I've done a solo show, I've done an hour. I said, this is a solo show isn't about doing stand-up for an hour. There's a storyline that threads through the whole thing. In fact, it's funny that you mentioned that. I'm teaching a solo show class that
that's great.
through Jim Andrinos' company, comedytherapy.com, and we were supposed to start. The class was supposed to start at the end of the month. I think we may postpone it for a minute, because everyone's been so like scattered and everything. But I'm going to teach the class, because people don't know how to really do a solo show. They think it's like the one thing that I told them, and I can tell everybody, because the one thing I said to Jim is, I said, you can't have a mic, because he was using a mic. I said, if you as a comic go on stage with a mic in a theater, everybody in the theater thinks we're going to watch stand-up comedy.
Right.
It's a simple thing.
Yeah.
You have to be on stage. You have to be able to project.
Yes.
You know, you can maybe wear, you know, one of those mics that they put, you know, on Broadway. We have it on you.
Yeah.
But you can't have this type of mic, because now we're doing stand-up.
Right.
So that's the one little tip I gave him.
It's a story. It's a journey. You want to take someone on a journey with you.
Right. Exactly. So when comics go, oh yeah, I've done it, I have an hour, that's not the same thing. And every comic in the world says they have an hour, and it's like literally 10 minutes, and then the rest is, so what do you do? Where are you from? You know, that's not an hour.
No, it's not. It's not. So I want to talk about these amazing women that you've surrounded yourself with, because you had a monthly residency at the Crane Theater, correct?
Yes.
And it was called Funny Women of a Certain Age.
Yes.
Basically, you're giving female comics over the age of 50 to perform and an outlet in order to show their wares, so to speak. And it's genius.
Thank you.
I think that once we hit a certain age, like you said, we fall into different categories as we get older. I turned 56, and my daughter was making fun of me when I was double nickels. And then I was like, I'm not double nickels no more. But, to have an outlet
Right.
within of a certain age is not only necessary, but it's help me out with the word. It's necessary.
Yeah.
Necessary, and it's something that thanks to you, they're able to feel validated. And damn it, we're funny. We
Yeah.
are funny. We're funny women. We have a lot to say.
Right. Well, what happened is that I was actually doing a podcast with a bunch of my female friends, and we had the best time. And this is when we could touch, and we were, there was food there, and we were talking, and we were laughing, and we were eating, and we were just having the best time. And I called my husband because the studio was in Queens, and I was going to the subway, and I said, we had the best time. Why isn't anybody doing a show like this? Why isn't it doing a show with just women, who are older, who have been in the business forever? And so I literally wrote down a list of all the women I knew that were over 50. So that was like over 100, maybe even more, like 150. Wow. And then I said, well, if I open it up to women over 45, it doubles. If I open it up to over 40, because that's really when you get tossed aside in this industry, is when you turn 40. Right. So I had close to 500 names, and I always do this because I always go, I'm very lucky, and people go, you weren't very lucky, you worked your ass off. And yes, I was. Yes, I absolutely did, and I agree, and I worked my ass off to get there. Yes. But when you hit on something, because as comics, we've all had ideas. Yes. This one clicked. From the moment I mentioned it, it was like a giant snowball, like
a light bulb moment.
Absolutely. It just I remember when I was talking, the show premiered in a small comedy festival called the Cinder Block Festival in Brooklyn, New York. Mm-hmm. And the show was me, Rhonda Handsome, Janine Garofalo, Judy Gold. We had a young girl, Jamie Manalis. She was the millennial who was hosting it. Okay. I think that was it. I'm not sure. I'm probably forgetting somebody because I always forget everybody. That show was such a huge hit. I mean, it was packed. It was, and when I say it was packed, people, I'm not lying, because, that's one of the things I hate about comics is they go, oh yeah, I sold out tonight. Well, if it's a free fucking show, you didn't sell it out. Okay. So, it was packed. The audience went crazy. And when I left, the woman who was running the door was also a young comedian. She said, I work at the Crane Theater. I think my boss would love this. So I met with him, and he said, yeah. He goes, I'll give you a residency right now. I said, oh, calm down. Let's do it. Let's do one show.
Right.
Okay. Let's just do one show. And that was in December. And then he said, it went well. And he said, I want to give you a residency. So we're on once we go back to real, we've done, this is our third year going into our fourth year, of having the residency, because we still do it once a month, but we do it virtually now.
Right.
But yeah, and from there, my partner who produced the show with me, the TV show with me, I had told him about the idea. I had just told him. He hadn't even seen a show yet.
Right.
And he said we should start talking to people. So we got meetings with a couple of places. We met with Showtime in November, right before we actually started to work at the Crane. They loved the idea from the beginning. I mean, it was, and so on. We ended up doing a big showcase in February. And everybody, HBO, Amazon, Showtime, CNN, Lifetime, everybody was there. And we ended up with Showtime for the simple reason that they gave me my first my first big TV spot. My first show was a show called the Showtime Comedy Club All Stars.
Right, right.
And I wanted to go back to them because I was like, you gave me my first spot if we're going to do this. But they got it. I mean, if I tell you, they got it from, it was mind blowing. And I say that to people because it happened so fast. I mean, I came up with the show the first show premiered in September of 2017. We were on the air of March of 2019.
Right.
So that's a little over 2 years.
Yeah.
That it went that fast. I mean, it's mind blowing how fast it went. And of course, because of course it did this. The first show was the #1 rated comedy special on Showtime for 2019.
It's amazing.
Because people wanted it. I mean, and the women I had on the first show, okay, I had Fran Drescher, I had Lunell, I had Lynn Koplitz, I had Vanessa Hollingshead, I had Carrie Louise, and myself. I mean, it was a myriad of great female comics, but
and
all
that was taped at the Bell House, right? In Brooklyn? Yeah.
That tape was taped. But I mean, and everybody knocked it out of the park. I mean, you could feel the magic in the room.
Yeah.
When it happened. And also, like, when you see, one of the things when I watch it, and I don't watch it a lot because I hate to watch myself, but when you see the reaction of the audience when I come on stage, that's not because I'm anybody. It's because of what I did.
Right.
It's because I got this out there.
Yes, absolutely.
Do you know? And now for the second special was Caroline Ray, Carol Leifer, Tammy Pescatelli, Julia Scotti, Thea Vidal, and myself.
Yes.
Also, the same thing. Knocks, and you're talking about how everything was starting to, right, it was all great, and then literally we taped the Today Show.
Yes.
On the 12th.
On the Today Show.
Right.
Yes.
Taped it on the 12th. It aired on the 13th. We were all joking about, this COVID. I mean, they literally didn't have any. It was all just their assistants sitting in watching the show,
right.
And some of our guests, we were like, oh yeah, this will be over, but yeah. And literally, we went into lockdown that Saturday night, and my show aired. So the ratings are probably even better than they were for the first show.
Yeah, absolutely, they were. I'm sure they were.
Yeah.
Well, listen, we're gonna take our last quick break. Thank you for everyone watching. Please like the show. Please share it. Don't go away. More with Carol Montgomery when we come back.
Fortunato's Pizza and Restaurant is located at 719 Hawkins Avenue in Ronkonkoma. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram. They do free deliveries to Ronkonkoma, Lake Ronkonkoma, Lake Grove, Center Reach, Nesconset, Holbrook, and Selden. And they do catering for all occasions. Remember, mention Tea Time and get 10% off your entire order. So, Fortunato's Pizza. Move your pizza to Fortunato's Pizza.
So where do you want to go tonight?
Are you bored?
Oh my God.
Hold on tight. We're gonna coast us.
Coaster's Tavern is located at 487 Newbridge Road in East Meadow. Their number's 516-557-2222.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Tea Time. I'm so glad you're joining me tonight. I'm with Carol Montgomery. She's a comedian, a writer, director, producer. She's seen it all. She's done it all. She's doing it all. And continuing to do it all.
I'm so tired. I'm so tired. Somebody help me. I can't.
I want to thank everyone for watching the show. Please
thank you so much.
Share it. You've accomplished so much, and I want to talk about. We talked about your upbringing and comedy and Vegas and directing, and then women of a certain age, funny women of a certain age, and then you had more women of a funny
more
age.
Funny women of a certain age.
Funny women, and basically kind of like started this revolution for women who are older comics to get up there and show their stuff. And You had this monthly residency, which you said you still have now via Zoom from the Crane Theater. I want to talk about, you put out a CD, Because I Said So.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
I want to know how people can get their hands on that.
If you go to my website, you go to carolmontgomery.com, or, if you want to contact me through Facebook or any of the social medias, Twitter, Instagram, and it's I think I forget how much it is. I think it's $10 plus shipping and handling. You just reach out to me, and I'll get your address, and we do it through PayPal and stuff like that. And I just have to tell you, because you said I have all these different hats, and I love sharing this story. So for the first special years, not only did I create both the show and I was a performer on it, but I was also the executive producer. So I was there. I think I got there at noon. We weren't shooting until like 7, but we were running around. We were shooting the stuff, what they call the interstitials, the between the stuff and everything. And, and also people are coming out and saying, do you like this? Literally, like, it was like, do you like the way the lights look? Okay. It was just, so it's literally, we're taping, we're going to shoot at 7:30, they call half hour, and I'm still running around, like trying to do stuff. And so my I love saying this, my Showtime executive, I have my own executive at Showtime. He literally says, Carol, what are you doing? I said, well, I got to go he literally goes, and he pushes me into that. He goes, would you stop being a producer? Just go do the show now. You have to be a comic now. Yeah. And I would have kept going up until I went on stage.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because I couldn't, it's very hard women are very good at multitasking.
We are.
So, but it was such a sweet moment, such a menschy moment, that he was like, what do you, go out.
Now, I had Fran's ex. I had Peter on my show.
Oh, that's great. He's a sweet man.
A doll. And I was lucky enough to meet both he and Fran on her Cancer Schmancer cruise when she did her very first one a few years ago. And I was thrilled to see Fran on the show, because we know her as a comedic actress, but I don't think I've ever seen her do actual stand-up. I think that was the first time I actually saw her do it.
Yeah, what she said is that she never actually did stand-up, but she did so many of these talk shows where she'd sit and she'd bullshit.
Right.
And she's so good, and so is Caroline Ray. I mean, both of my stars were, but these are women who are actresses, but they're innately funny, so they know how to pull that off. Yeah. Like there was an edit that we had to do for Caroline, and we had to bring her back after the show's over, and she came in and she nailed it, and she went, "Is that it? Yep, okay." But as if when you would never see it if you look at her set, you'd never even see it. It was that seamless.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, they were Fran. I actually performed on her Cancer Schmancer cruise, the last one, when there were people. But I love all my women that were on the TV special, both of them. But the first one, of course, is the first one, and Fran helped me achieve my dream. Do you know what I mean? Because by putting her on the show, it bumps it up.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? When putting Caroline Ray on the show, it bumps it up now, because now you're like, oh, whoa, yeah, And hopefully, if we get to do a third or fourth one, other women. I mean, I would, it's so funny you mentioned Betty White turning 99. I would have loved to have her, but the problem with that is we'd all be so terrified that something would happen to her, that we'd all be like, and she'd be like, leave me alone. I so wanted to have her be on one of the shows, but I don't even know. Look, nobody's flying now anyway. No. So but Fran has a special place in my heart, because she said yes to doing this. She got it, and she helped us achieve what we did. And then, of course, because of that, we got to the second one, and Caroline could not have been greater. And then all the other ladies. I mean,
like I said, I have Julie on my show. I have Rhonda on my show. They can't speak more highly about you. But listen, Carol, I want to thank you so much for taking the time and spending some time with me on my show. I want people to follow you. They can go to carolmontgomery.com, correct?
Right.
Is the website.
Right.
You could get the CD. Look up Funny Women of a Certain Age. And
we have a website too, funnywomenofacernage.com. I mean, if you Google either my name or my show's name, we're all up there,
Yeah,
you know,
just,
I mean,
just Google it and you'll find it.
and,
So,
and,
so
and
coming out of COVID, real quick, 30
Yeah.
seconds. Coming out of COVID, what do you want to look forward to?
I wanna be able to get on a plane. I want to be able to get on a plane and travel. I want to be, like I said to one of my friends who wrote this great book about being on the road, a gentleman named Barry Friedman. I said, you actually made me miss shitty one-nighters. So that I want to get back to that. I want to get back to, driving 6 hours to get a basket of fries.
Yeah, I hear you. Listen, I stay right there, Carol. I want to thank everyone for watching the show. Please like it. Please share it. Thank you for your continued prayers and tuning in and supporting Tea Time. I appreciate it. Please, everyone, wear a mask. Wash your hands. Just stay safe. Be careful. And I'll see everyone next week. Ciao, everybody.
Bye.